Cinderella's fear. I think that my boyfriend is planning to murder me. It was the weekend, and the McDonald's they were in was filled with parents who had brought their children. There were also incessant shrills and laughter from the children who were playing on the slide in the play area. Naturally, it was difficult for the fair and plump Zhu Mei to believe what her good friend had said. That's nonsense. Even if both of you are quarreling, don't badmouth someone to that degree, Zhu Mei scolded jokingly. Pausing a while, she raised her eyebrow asking rather hesitantly, when both of you quarrel, it doesn't get physical, right? The woman who was sitting opposite from her was about 20+ years old. Even though her features could be considered quite exquisite, in a bustling cosmopolitan city like theirs, she couldn't be considered a rare beauty. However, her most attention-drawing feature was her pair of slightly upturned large eyes. Within her light-colored pupil was an amber luster which you couldn't help associating with expensive cats. Lin Sanju shook her head and did not continue. She couldn't blame Zhu Mei for not believing her, saying such words seemed even somewhat preposterous to herself. Perhaps it was because she had not slept well, she felt rather anxious. Lin Sanju took 2 sips of Coca-Cola, not knowing what frame of mind she was in. She half-jokingly said, if a day comes when the police ask who I usually don't get along with. Sheesh. The bantering tone of her friend relieved Zhu Mei of the shreds of doubt she previously had. She waved her hand and cheerily commented, really, you got a great deal. Say, what are Ren Nan's shortcomings? The last half of the sentence blew past her like a breeze. Lin Sanju did not even listen. Her pair of cat-like eyes swept the surroundings outside the window, as her lower jaw slightly tightened. Seeming to conceal that, she tilted her head down and took a bite out of her hamburger. At that moment, the noisy McDonald's suddenly fell silent for a few seconds. As the doorway darkened, a tall man walked in a steady pace. A few customers in a queue unconsciously step aside, opening a path for him. Wearing a custom-tailored steel gray shirt, with a uniquely Armani's slim-fit design, every detail seemed to portray a dignified quality. His well-pressed dark-colored pants elegantly fitted him without any creases, as if there were professionals to iron at any time. Additionally, he had a 1:9 body ratio that Asians rarely had, and good looks to boot. At any time, Ren Nan looked like a top model who had just walked out from some fashion show, right into a McDonald's. It was no wonder that he got glances from the crowd. As he sat down, there was a slight fragrance of Davidoff cool water cologne in the air. Why are you eating such fast food again? He nodded, acknowledging Zhu Mei while he gently touched Sanjo's hair as if not knowing what to do with her. His Patek Philippe watch was half buried in her hair. I even planned to take you to that Japanese restaurant we went previously. When I walked past, I just felt hungry, so, Lin Sanju forced a smile, avoiding Ren Nan's gaze. She lowered her head and put a single French fry in her mouth. Her hair slipped from her shoulders, blocking the view of her expression. Saying that Ren Nan had some sort of flaw seemed almost unimaginable. After dating for a few months, Ren Nan had quickly won over her buddies and friends with his perfect demeanor, much less Lin Sanju herself. No, not only his demeanor, his looks, wealth, personality, every aspect was so perfect, he was exactly what women dreamed of. Everyone told her fate treated her too well. When they just started dating, Lin Sanju almost couldn't believe how lucky she was. At that time, she woke up smiling every morning, embracing the new world that Ren Nan brought to her. When did she starting feeling there was something wrong? Suddenly, Zhu Mei's enthusiastic voice broke her train of thought. I have taken a day of Xiaoju's time, I won't interrupt both of your sweet time together. She just told me that she was a little tired, why don't both of you go back? Lin Sanju was pulled back to reality. Ren Nan's gentle voice always had a fittingly cheerful tone. Let us send you back. Recently, the weather has been too hot. Zhu Mei had a childish temperament and immediately smiled, replying, oh, then I just take up on that offer. It is so bloody hot today, I just walked for a while, and I am covered with perspiration. The clothes on her back were still damp. As she did not have much appetite and saw that her good friend had finished eating, Lin Sanju readily stood up. Her boyfriend and good friend followed suit and walked out of the McDonald's. The pavement outside had been baked by the afternoon sun, as a wave of heat surrounded the three of them. It was already October, but the intense heat did not show any sign of retreating, it continued holding their cosmopolitan city in its grip. Some of the people on the streets held umbrellas, and others had their forehead covered with perspiration. Everyone's face showed much discomfort, it was really too hot. Even at the height of summer, it wasn't that hot. Zhu Mei was most afraid of the hot weather. She had only walked a few steps but was already covered in sweat and had to continuously wipe her forehead. Lin Sanju could feel several strands of her hair sticking to the skin at the back of her neck. As she could not stand this unpleasant feeling, she couldn't help asking, "Where did you park your car?" Ren Nan lifted his head and looked over to the location not far from them. His skin was clean and dry without even a bit of perspiration. "It is right in front." He paused a while, keeping his usual elegant and calm demeanor. "I already told you a few times, not owning a car is too inconvenient. Since you have already gotten your driving license, do you want to buy a car?" Zhu Mei immediately exclaimed enviously, "You plan to buy a car for Xiaoju? You are really a mister. Perfect. My boyfriend only bought me a teddy bear for my birthday." Lin Sanju replied superficially with some agreeing sound, while she was totally not thinking about the car. It was lucky that Zhu Mei was a lively person. As Zhu Mei chatted noisily with Ren Nan, he did not notice the unease that Sanju felt. 3 months before, Lin Sanju had finally sweetly agreed to Ren Nan's countless request for her to move in. She packed her things, ended her housing rental, and moved to his condominium situated in the middle of the city. The many friends and colleagues who visited her new accommodation were all extremely envious. The moment they step out of the apartment, they would immediately pull her over and tell her, "Xiaoju, you must hold on to such a good guy. Does Ren Nan have any brothers? Or friends who are still single? Don't forget to introduce one to me. You should talk to him about marriage soon." Her friends' celebratory voices seemed to reverberate in her ears. The emotions and excitement in Lin Sanju's heart were 10 times her friends'. However, after they had stayed together for some time, her IQ, which had been lowered due to being in love, had slowly recovered. Contemporary romance. She started to gradually notice the details of her daily life. Right now, Lin Sanju really couldn't explain it, but she felt a little fearful of Ren Nan. After Zhu Mei had disappeared around the corner of the old street, Ren Nan restarted the engine and the sound of the car merged with the traffic. In about 20 minutes, both were back at home. Ren Nan's condominium was located in the most expensive district, and its construction was only completed 2 years before. Every inch of tile represented a kind of lifestyle that only normal folks like Lin Sanju could dream of. And now, she had almost gotten used to her new lifestyle, if not for the cloud of doubt in her heart that got heavier day after day. The penthouse apartment occupied the entire 38th floor. Following the ding sound of their personal elevator, the door opened, and both of them walked into the living room. Responding to the movement of the elevator, the living room's soft lights switched on one by one. "I bought some cola today, do you want a can?" Putting down her bag, Lin Sanju headed to the kitchen. She hid the thumping of her heartbeat and smiled at Ren Nan as if nothing happened, conscious that her expression hid her feelings perfectly. Ren Nan also walked over, wearing his usual tender smile. "Okay, whatever you buy is great." She didn't know when it started, but this sort of fairytale-like sweet talk sounded strange to Lin Sanju. Totally not knowing how to reply, she hurriedly handed over the cola. Once he pulled open the can tab, the gas in the drink came out with a SSSSSS sound. Probably to make her happy, he drank half a can of the drink in one mouth. Lin Sanju hid behind the pulled-open fridge door, her body tensed up as she perked up her ears, not wanting to miss a sound. The room was silent for half a minute. Seconds after seconds passed until Ren Nan's laughter broke the silence in the room. "What are you looking for in the fridge?" Lin Sanju's heart fell into the pit of her stomach. She closed the door and acted casually as she observed Ren Nan. No reaction. Swallowing a can of cola full of carbon dioxide down into his stomach, Ren Nan did not even show an intention of burping, as if he had just drunk a black pool of stagnant water. "Nothing, I just wanted to see if there were any snacks." She forced a smile. Living together for 3 months, she had never even seen Ren Nan burp once. Not just burping, coughing, sneezing, farting, sweating, all this sort of unsightly bodily functions that everyone had, Lin Sanju had never seen Ren Nan having. If she thought about it carefully, she was not sure if she ever even saw him using the toilet. "You didn't even eat much just now. Why don't we go out for dinner tonight?" Ren Nan pulled both her arms and gave a kiss on Lin Sanju's neck. Goosebumps surfaced all over her back. "Nah, it's okay. I am too lazy to move, plus I want to sleep early tonight, I have to wake up early tomorrow." "Well, then I will personally cook you some salmon," Ren Nan replied smilingly. Lin Sanju nodded her head quickly. Ren Nan's cooking skills were like himself, perfect without flaws. After eating the dinner he had meticulously prepared, the sun outside the living room's glass windows was slowly setting to the west. As the sky darkened, it turned to a star-filled nightfall. There is an ongoing global heatwave. And today is the 104th day. After clearing up the dinner utensils, Lin Sanju watched the television as if she was interested in the news. She honestly did not want to match gaze with Ren Nan. Following the deaths due to hyperthermia in Africa, India, and Southeast Asia, our country's death toll due to heat stroke has already reached 67 people. Relevant experts remind all. She felt Ren Nan walked over, sitting beside her in the sofa sinking down. An arm settled on her shoulder naturally, and Lin Sanjo's body stiffened. Even though she did not turn her head, she could feel that he wasn't watching the television. What was the difference between the temperature from midnight to 1 a.m.? If things went as usual, no one would probably feel it. However, tonight was vastly different. The sun had long been set, but the temperature of the sweltering heat in the air seemed to rise gradually with each passing minute. And to make matters worse, it had been days since there was even a little wind. The surrounding air outside the windows was no longer just air, but suffocating, scalding hot air which was waiting to rush towards you. As if someone had given an order, the small number of families in the city who, for various reasons did not switch on their air conditioner, had also switched them on. Whereas, the people without air conditioners simply could not tolerate it any longer. Pubs, 24-hour convenience stores, offices, wherever there was a trace of cool air, they would go. After 30 minutes, with a k-da sound, a few night lights in the 38th floor apartment were extinguished. The room was plunged into an absolute darkness. The constant soft buzzing sound in the bedroom had also unknowingly stopped at some point in time. The central air conditioning had stopped. After the air conditioner had stopped, Lin Sanju tossed frustratingly whilst asleep. Without the maintained temperature of a comfortable 26 degrees Celsius, her body was quickly covered in a layer of sweat. This layer of sweat was like an unbreathable blanket, and before long she woke up due to the heat. The remote control seems to be on the bedside cabinet, a thought flashed past her hazy mind. As she was about to stretch out her hand to reach for it, she suddenly felt that something was wrong. She immediately stopped moving her hand. After remaining motionless for a while, she squinted slightly and peeked upward. A snowy white face hung directly above her own face. Two black, cavernous eyes stared straight at her. Again, it's that again. A loud screech exploded in Lin Sanjo's mind, yet her throat was so dry she couldn't even make a sound. Her heartbeat became faster and faster, louder and louder, and that white face leaned in with his ear to listen. With a swiftness, it came closer to Lin Sanju. 2 weeks before, she had once woken up in the middle of the night because she was thirsty. When she got up, she knocked that face. At that time, she was so shocked that she yelped and scrambled to switch on the lights. Only to find that it was Ren Nan. She didn't know when Ren Nan had sat beside her, with an expressionless face in the dark, how long he had been staring at her in this manner, just like tonight. He explained that since young he often sleepwalked. If it weren't for her doubts, she would have believed him. At that moment, she forced down her fears and acted like she hadn't woken up. She rubbed her eyes and asked casually, "Ren Nan, are you sleepwalking again?" In the dark, a smile cracked on Ren Nan's face. "Yes, I've done it again. I didn't scare you, did I?" He spoke totally articulately. A little. Lin Sanju got out of the bed almost as if escaping. She stood at the door, which gave her a false impression that she could escape anytime, so she calmed down a little. Only then did she felt the steamer-like temperature of the room. "Why is it so hot? Did you switch off the air conditioner?" Ren Nan didn't say a thing. He pulled open the thick, heavy curtains, revealing the set of full-length windows. Normally, Lin Sanju could see the dazzling night scene of half the city through these windows. On this night, however, the city had lost its everlasting illumination. Even the starlight was blocked by the clouds, leaving only a dead darkness. In the apartment with closed doors and closed windows, it was so stuffy that it was even hard to breathe. The electrical load must be too high, it seems like. There is a power outage throughout the city. There was still a cheerfulness in Ren Nan's voice which showed his composure. While he spoke, he slowly stood up, walking past the end of the bed and headed to the door, step by step. Suddenly, the alarm bells in Lin Sanjo's mind rang. Without waiting for him to approach, she rushed towards the living room. She finally got some repayment for the decorating and cleaning of this penthouse over these 3 months. In this pitch-black darkness, she still succeeded to reach the living room entrance. Without stopping to take a breath, with a bash, she stretched out her hand and smashed the elevator button. Unexpectedly, it didn't light up red. There isn't a backup power supply system in such an expensive condominium. The backup power supply is only for the lights in the stairways. They couldn't care less for the lifts, even more so personal ones. The voice came from behind her, a voice which she had known for half a year. Ren Nan was just as gentle, but as he enunciated his words, Lin Sanju heard a wetness in his tone. As if Ren Nan could not control the saliva secreting in his mouth. In the dark, the shadowy, blurry outline which represented Ren Nan crept towards her, finally stopping in the middle of the living room. Lin Sanju felt giddy. Her sixth sense was right. A sense of regret welled up in her heart. What do you want to do? Your senses are quite keen. Ren Nan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. You should have already felt it. But you should really listen more closely to your intuition, otherwise, you wouldn't have followed me back here. Over these few days, you should have felt conflicted. I really should thank you for your trust. Lin Sanju did not realize it herself, but her clenched fists were now trembling uncontrollably. Xiao Ju, in such a hot weather, are you sweating a lot? Ren Nan suddenly asked such a random question with concern. Lin Sanju was stunned. She touched her arm subconsciously, finding that she only had a thin layer of perspiration on her skin. She started wondering why he would ask about this now. Ren Nan nodded his head in a satisfied manner. Xiao Ju, you're great. I didn't groom you for half a year in vain. What the hell was he talking about? She did not understand a single thing he was saying. Lin Sanju wanted to open her mouth to say something, but realized that her jaw was quivering. The thought that had been in her head for these few days made her say something that she never thought she would. Are you going to eat me? Your intuition is really sharp. The black figure praised. Lin Sanju was infuriated by his attitude. A complex mixture of fear, indignation, and bewilderment arose, and she did not feel as helpless as before. Stop bullshitting. Who are you? Why did you choose me? Don't you dare try anything. All my friends know that I am staying at your place. The words flowed out like a tidal wave. She purposely raised her voice, secretly hoping that someone would be able to hear her, as she felt her way to the open-concept kitchen at the side of the living room. Ren Nan sighed. On the account that you have accompanied me for 6 months, I will explain things to you before you die. He raised his hands and snapped his fingers. With a sudden boom, one of the glass walls in the living room shattered into 1,000 pieces. A wave of heat, unlike what Lin Sanju had felt before, rushed past the glass pieces and engulfed the room. This was accompanied by a muffled scream from a distance. The last bit of remaining leftover cool air from the air conditioner was swallowed in an instant. Why is it so hot? It was as if someone had taken the entire city and roasted it over a barbecue pit. Before Lin Sanju could react, Ren Nan spoke in his gentle voice again. From night onwards, this world is no longer the world that you people are familiar with. In this new world, according to your metric, it is, 56 degrees Celsius. Lin Sanju was dumbfounded. At 56 degrees Celsius, normal humans would have died a few times over due to acute hyperthermia and severe dehydration. With this sudden thought, she quickly touched the back of her neck. Unexpectedly, Lin Sanju did not really sweat much more. See, I have only nurtured you for a few months, and you already evolved and gained the heat resistance adaptation and keen senses traits. 2 traits, as expected from a potential seed I've spotted the first time I saw you. Too bad, this new world came too early, otherwise, I would have liked to nurture you for 2 years before consuming. After the glass wall was shattered, a dim light flooded the living room. With the aid of that bit of light, Lin Sanju could see Ren Nan's face clearly. His usual handsome model-like features gradually gave way to his large mouth, that kept getting wider and wider. Clear bright saliva poured from the corners of his mouth without restraint, and at this time, Lin Sanju was already forced to the corner of the kitchen. I still don't understand. What sort of creature are you? Why do you want to eat me? I don't know what evolution or powers you are talking about. Didn't you say you would explain it to me? Then, tell me. Even if she could only delay him for 1 minute, it would give her a shred of opportunity. Lin Sanju used her shouting voice as she secretly stretched out her hand towards the knife holder on the countertop behind her. His large mouth stopped for a while, and then shrunk a little, revealing Ren Nan's original facial features. Sigh, why are you so stupid? Of course, I am a human and Ren Nan is my name. However, I am not like your sort of, backward, types. I come from another, new world. Anyone who survives a new world will evolve and gain different abilities. I have abilities that you would not even dare to imagine. Ren Nan wiped his clammy chin. You better put that knife down, I am warning you. My eyesight is really good. Just let me eat you obediently, I promise it won't even hurt a bit. No way, she shouted furiously. Before he barely even finished his sentence, Lin Sanju, filled with fear and anger, rushed towards him with a sharp knife in her hand. Contemporary romance. The gleaming silver boning knife moved extremely quickly as it drew a bright light in the darkness. Just as the tip of the knife was about to pierce into Ren Nan's chest, he shifted a step silently. Lin Sanju missed her target. She staggered forward and slipped on a piece of glass. Unable to keep her balance, she fell heavily to the ground. His large mouth, which was almost tearing his cheeks apart, lunged forwards to attack Lin Sanju. He did not even give her the chance to stand up. In a panic, she only managed to turn aside and flung out the boning knife. Ren Nan dodged quickly but still received a shallow cut from the knife. With a clash, the knife fell some distance away. Angered and humiliated, Ren Nan pinned Lin Sanju to the ground. He stared at her black pupils which had shrunk to the size of a pinhead. A steak should act like a steak. In the dim light, Lin Sanju watched in despair as the black figure closed in on her throat. Ren Nan sank his teeth into the fresh tender flesh of the young woman. The smell of iron rust filled the air as his chin was dyed red by her fresh blood. He only needed to bite down a little harder, and Lin Sanju's fragile life will forever disappear from this world. But Ren Nan could not move. It wasn't that he did not want to eat this good progeny, he just could not move. At that moment, there was a kitchen knife in the back of Ren Nan's head. Its blade was fully embedded, and only its handle remained in sight. There was still a shred of excitement in Ren Nan's eyes. Even as he died, he could not understand the situation. Lin Sanju was bare-handed, she was just struggling uselessly with her arms in the air. How could he just die like that? Momentarily, Lin Sanju could only hear the intense drum-like thumping of her heart. Ba-dump, ba-dump, her heart pounded as she laid under the heavy corpse. Overcoming the sharp pain in her neck, she used all her strength and finally pushed Ren Nan off. Thump, the corpse rolled off her and laid supine on the floor. With that, the knife in Ren Nan's head was pushed further in. The blade pierced through, revealing itself in his large opened mouth. Lin Sanju held her neck tightly. One of her hands was already covered in blood. She rapidly took in a few large gulps of air before giving a ruthless kick to the corpse on the floor. She cursed softly with her hoarse voice, "Who told you that I only evolved to get 2 abilities?" She only muttered a few words, but the acute pain around her throat was too unbearable. Just seconds after kicking the corpse, Lin Sanju's vision went dark. She almost fell. The dizziness brought by her loss of blood hit her faster than she thought it would. Everything else did not matter now. Right now, the most important thing for her was to bandage her wound. She staggered around finding for a towel. When she found one, she placed it on her neck and applied heavy pressure to her wound. She gasped. She sat on the floor again and pressed the towel to her neck with all the strength she could muster. After being in a state of half-consciousness for some time, the bleeding finally stopped. It seems that it was not her time to die yet. After all, the bite missed her arteries. After she had rested for a while, she managed to accumulate barely enough energy to somehow stand up to get herself some water. After she had put the glass of water down, she noticed that Ren Nan's bizarre-looking corpse was still lying silently on the floor. After some consideration, Lin Sanju dragged her weakened self and stood beside the corpse. Trembling, she put one of the hands on the corpse and whispered hoarsely, "Store this." Just as she finished her sentence, a white light flashed across her palm rapidly. The corpse, with a knife sticking out from it, disappeared. With a "pa" sound, a card which was the size of a poker card fell to the ground. Contemporary romance. Lin Sanju felt for her mobile phone and used it to illuminate the card. Just as she expected, there was a simple squiggly crayon drawing of a man with a wide-open mouth and a sharp knife sticking out of his head. There was also a row of blank words underneath it, Ren Nan's corpse. Open black lens bracket Ren Nan's corpse close black lens bracket. Name, can't you read the card title? Species, human. Status: dead. Potential growth value: 204. Murder suspect: Lin Sanju. Passive skills: extreme temperature adaptation, strength augmentation, body modification. Active skills: good for me, you and everyone, nutritionist. What the heck is this? Lin Sanju stared at the card. She was speechless for a moment. This weird item was produced by the third ability she had gained. Tonight, it just saved her life. At will, Lin Sanju was able to transform items that she touched into a card and store them in her body. When she wanted to use an item again, with that intention in her mind, the card will revert back to its original form in her hands. Previously, she threw the boning knife at Ren Nan to lower his defenses and as a ruse. She killed him by actually putting her hand behind the back of his head when she was struggling as he bit her. With a quick thought, the chef's knife card that she had hidden in the morning reverted back to its original form and pierced deeply into Ren Nan's cerebrum. After a few days of experimentation, Lin Sanju found out that she could only use this item transformation 4 times. Even though the cards that she created no longer felt unfamiliar to her, this was the first time that she saw a card which showed such rich content. She quickly flipped the card and indeed found that the back of the card was filled with tiny little words. Ren Nan, male, 28 years old, he came from another, new world. He had been an introvert since young and was not popular with women. He even received a love confession from an older male schoolmate. When the new world arrived, he struggled to survive, you get the point. Anyways, after he had arrived in the world belonging to the murder suspect, Lin Sanju, Ren Nan ate a multi-millionaire who had the potential growth value of 2. He took over the man's wealth and got close with the murder suspect, Lin Sanju, with a hidden agenda. When he was about to consume Lin Sanju, he was killed instead. It is frustrating enough that you don't reveal what you should, you even labeled me as a murder suspect. Feeling a little gloomy, Lin Sanju ran her finger across the paragraph. The words disappeared, and the next paragraph slid in and appeared on the surface of the card. Open black lens bracket, good for me, you and everyone, close black lens bracket. You can spot a person with high potential growth value in a large population with your perception. Through intimate skinship, kissing, hugging, etc., this ability is able to activate a normal human's potential, speeding up the party's evolution and allowing that person to gain their abilities more quickly. This is what's called a win-win situation. Open black lens bracket, nutritionist, close black lens bracket. After you finish consuming a person, you can efficiently inherit the potential growth value, evolved abilities and body constituency of your meal. A balanced and nutritious diet will guarantee a better tomorrow. Note: the knife in his brain was manufactured in Germany. It is sharp, lightweight and sturdy. $599. Purchased from Jingxi Shopping Mall. If she did not have her keen senses ability, she might think that this was just a dream. She cursed silently as she held on to open black lens bracket Ren Nan's corpse, close black lens bracket, not really knowing what to do. She did not want to place a corpse into a body. After she thought about it for a while, she simply slid it into her pocket. Ren Nan's card had clearly explained his abilities. She wondered if her own card would introduce her abilities and explain more about the so-called New World. Even though this was her plan, she could not possibly transform herself into a card. With quick thinking, she plucked a strand of her hair, and said quietly, "Store this." With a flash of white light, another card appeared on her hand. Owner: Lin Sanju. Condition: black, healthy and a little dry on the ends. Function: it is annoying when it gets stuck on a broom. Note: according to the condition of roots, the owner may start balding around 40. What the heck? It was totally useless. Frustrated, Lin Sanju gestured her hand in the air. A white light flashed, and the hair disappeared into the darkness. Is this a new world with a high temperature climate? She was preoccupied with this thought. 56 degrees Celsius, it already felt unbearable for a person like her who had evolved and gained heat resistance adaptation. She wondered what it was like for other normal people. Suddenly, she shuddered and jumped down from the sofa. Zhu Mei, how did she almost forget her friend? Thinking that Zhu Mei could be in danger right now, Lin Sanju ignored the fact that she was still injured. She searched hastily for a backpack and rushed into the kitchen. She stuffed all the bottled beverages and drinks she could find into the backpack. Then, after changing into a more comfortable sports attire, she searched for the keys for the emergency exit and ran into the dark stairway. After she had run downstairs, She found herself quite breathless. It was 38 floors after all. She wiped the sweat from her forehead, drank a mouthful of water and continued toward the basement. Ren Nan's car, or rather the car that belonged to the man he had eaten, was parked at basement 1. As Zhu Mei apartment was a 20 minutes drive away, there was no way that Lin Sanju would choose to walk in such a high temperature. Once she stepped into the car park, Lin Sanju was surprised by the heatwave that hit her. As she looked around, she switched off the phone's flashlight expressionlessly. There was no need for a flashlight here. At this moment, every single car here had their headlights on. All the cars had their engines running. The rumbling sounds of their engines assaulted the entire space as the acoustics in the car park amplified the noise by 10 times. With hundreds of exhaust pipes spewing out hot air, the half-sealed car park had truly turned into an oven which was at least 3 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius warmer than the outside temperature. Everyone who could make it to the car park was here. Due to the power outage throughout the city, the people who could not endure the harsh high temperatures naturally hid in their own cars where they could find working air conditioners. Barely walking just a few steps in this hot stifling space, Lin Sanju could feel that the clothes on her back were totally drenched in sweat. When she walked past each car, she could see the terrified faces of strangers behind every car window. Some of the people were continuously attempting to make calls, some of them were crying uncontrollably as they hugged their children. Some people had already lost consciousness, perhaps because they were already dehydrated when they reached the car park. There were even some people who were staring at her flabbergastingly, apparently unable to understand how she still had the strength to walk around. Despite the cool air in their cars, many people, faces were faintly shrouded in despair. The air conditioners in their cars could only merely prolong their time. Once they ran out of petrol or electricity, with the terrifyingly high temperatures outside their cars, there was little chance for anyone in this car park to survive this. Lin Sanju knew very clearly that she did not have the ability to help these people who were in their cars. She only had 5 bottles of mineral water, 3 cans of cola and a few packets of plasters. With this amount of water, she did not know how long she would last. Gritting her teeth, she suppressed the sympathy she felt and concentrated on looking for the familiar Audi. When she did, she rushed into the car as if she was escaping. She gave it some thought and decided not to switch on the air conditioner. She only rolled down the car window. In any case, she would not die from the heat. At most, she would only feel some discomfort. She decided to save the precious petrol and electricity for Zhu Mei. Lin Sanju wiped her sweat away, held on to the steering wheel and drove the car slowly out of the car park. Compared to the steamer-like environment in the car park, the 56 degrees Celsius temperature outside made Lin Sanju feel slightly better. The streets were empty. There were almost no cars on the road, likely because most people were unwilling to waste that electricity and petrol. The cars that were parked at the 2 sides of the road were like the cars at the car park. Their engines were switched on. The people within the cars similarly wore faces of fear and despair as they savored their last bit of cool air. Just when Lin Sanju swerved past a red Mazda, a sudden black shadow flew towards her from the left. With a low-sounding bang, it hit the Audi's door violently. "I will kill all of you shameless bastards. Hiding in your own cars, with the air conditioners, in your cars, while letting us suffer." "Huh." The loud low thump on her car door was accompanied by an angry inarticulate yelling from the side of the road. Scared by the black shadow, Lin Sanju lost control of her car for a moment. She hurriedly stepped on the brake. The car let out a horrible sounding, sharp screech, fortunately coming to a stop before she hit the guardrails at the side of the road. She turned to look behind and saw a man in a sleeveless shirt. He was sweating profusely and was now throwing bricks crazily at the red Mazda. As he threw the bricks, he scolded, You are all trash, come out here, come out." Before he could finish his sentence, he fell backward and fainted. Clearly, she was caught in a crossfire just now. She exhaled deeply and turned her gaze away from her rear mirror. She could still feel some trepidation, an insane irritability, comas, hallucinations. These were all symptoms of dehydration due to the high temperature. She took another deep breath, hit the accelerator and sped towards Zhu Mei's residential complex. She had been to Zhu Mei's apartment multiple times before. After 20 minutes, Lin Sanju parked the car carefully and turned off the engine after her headlight shined on the Rongjun Residential Complex sign. She took the key, carried her backpack, switched on the flashlight on her phone and headed towards the metal door at the entrance of the complex. The location of the residential complex was a little remote, so usually, there were very little people nearby. Under such circumstances, it was now as quiet as a ghost town. Strangely, when Lin Sanju was reaching the large metal door, she felt her heartbeat stop for a second. She paused. She scanned her surroundings and found nothing odd. She waited cautiously for another 2 minutes. Noting that nothing changed, she breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that her keen senses was not 100% accurate. Rongjun residential complex was filled with apartment buildings that were built in the 1990s. Like all old complexes, there was a guardhouse at its entrance. As the area was not very safe, the metal gate would be locked after 12 a.m. In the event that one of the residents returned late, they could knock on the metal gate, and the security guard on duty that day would bring the key to open the gate for them. She looked at her watch. It was exactly 2:30 a.m. Lin Sanju stepped forward and knocked on the locked metal gate. The heavy brass lock hit against the metal gate noisily. The ear-piercing noise only dissipated after a while. However, the surroundings remained quiet, without a hint that anyone was nearby. "Mr. Security Guard, are you there? I am visiting someone from apartment 2. Could you please open the gate?" Her bright voice traveled over some distance in the dark, silent night. Regardless of how hopeful Lin Sanju sounded, there was still not even a single response from the guardhouse. Ads by PubFuture. She sighed. This was as expected. She started to have a headache when she looked at the row of anti-climbing spikes above the gate. The residential complex may be old, but that metal gate was newly installed. It was so sturdy that it was hopeless to get past it. Lin Sanju hesitated for a while before placing her hand on the metal gate. "Store this." Just as she said that, her palm shined with a bright light. This time, however, the white light seemed to glow rather feebly. It flashed across her palm a few times, but the metal gate remained in place. This was the first time that Lin Sanju tried transforming something this big and heavy. She could feel her heartbeat gradually beating faster, she was getting breathless, and her muscles were starting to ache. It felt like her body was weighed down by several thousand pounds of metal bars. Lin Sanju's arm started to tremble. Just when she was unable to tolerate it any longer and about to give up, the glow in her palm faded with a "pa" sound. The metal gate disappeared and transformed into a card that was now lying on the ground. There was a scribbly kindergartner's level crayon drawing of 2 metal gates. At the bottom of the card, it was written, "Open black lens bracket metal gate close black lens bracket." This gate was installed at Rongjun Residential Complex in 2012. Other than its weight, it has no other merits. Function: nothing special. It is unable to stand up straight if it is not installed to a wall. Lin Sanju was practically accustomed to how useless the stupid card was. She stuffed it into her pocket and hurried towards apartment 2. There was still no commotion from the pitch-black guardhouse behind her. When Lin Sanju stood outside the front of door 401, she found herself panting like a dog. She used up too much of her physical energy storing that metal gate. Then, a little while ago, she sprinted up 4 stories. At this moment, Lin Sanju could hear her voice quivering as she said, Ju Mei. "Are you in? Open the door, it's me, Xiao Ju." Apartment 401 was also silent. Lin Sanju's heart fell into the pit of her stomach. If Zhu Mei had fainted inside, she really did not know what to do. Since 12 a.m. today, she had already transformed 3 items: Ren Nan's corpse, her hair, and that metal gate. She could only use her ability one more time, but she had to go through 2 doors in Zhu Mei's apartment when entering. Not wanting to give up, Lin Sanju continued calling out and knocking on the door. She was feeling very anxious. When she was in the car, she could feel that the temperature was still rising. Even with her heat-resistant body, she could tell that it was not only 56 degrees Celsius now. Zhu Mei was just a normal person, could she even survive this? After shouting for some time, Lin Sanju felt her throat burning up. She had no choice but to take a few sips of water. After putting the bottle back into her backpack, she was just about to start knocking on the door again, when the door opened slightly with a creak. "Zhu Mei, how are you?" Lin Sanju finally felt relieved as she quickly looked with her flashlight. Ads by PubFuture. However, the person that opened the door was not Zhu Mei. It was a late middle-aged woman with an oval face. She was in her 50s. As the flashlight shined brightly on her face, she quickly blocked it with her hand. Those few seconds was enough for Lin Sanju to clearly see her. Lin Sanju's phone fell to the ground with a "pa" sound. She stared unwaveringly at the face behind that partially opened door and only reacted after some time. She reached for her mobile phone in a fluster. Once again, she held her phone unsteadily as the flashlight shined on the door once more. Finally, Lin Sanju managed to find her voice, "Mom." She could feel that her mind was in a jumbled mess. "Mom, how can you be here? You're all right, what is going on?" The middle-aged woman looked like she was about to burst into tears. She quickly opened the door. "Come in, quick. It is great to see that you're okay. I was so worried." In a confused state, Lin Sanju was pulled into the apartment. She stood at the corridor in the entrance. As a plethora of chaotic thoughts and questions spun in her mind, she did not know what to say. She stood there blankly, scanning the room. She saw the familiar white waist-height shoe cabinet beside her. This was the cabinet that Zhu Mei bought when she was accompanying her. Suddenly, she asked a question. "Mom, why are you at Zhu Mei's apartment? Where is she?" Mother Lin wiped her own tears and pulled a chair over, gesturing for Lin Sanju to enter and sit down. After Lin Sanju sat down, she explained, between sobs, "Ever since the weather became so abnormal, I have been very worried about you. When I heard that the power grid had failed here, I rushed over. I could not get you on your phone, so I came over to Zhu Mei's first, just to see if I could meet you if I waited here. But I think Zhu Mei is dead." Mother Lin sobbed spasmodically and continued, "She was such a good child. I know that both of you were close. Don't be too upset." Lin Sanju sat motionlessly. She fell silent. She turned off her flashlight. The apartment was once again totally dark. "I have already prepared myself on the way here. If God decided to take her away, there was nothing I could do about it. Thankfully, you are all right, Mom. That's all I can ask for," Lin Sanju mumbled in the dark. Even though she knew that her daughter could not see her, Mother Lin nodded. She wiped the tears from her face and smiled. "Your dad is all right too. He is resting in the room. I will just call him over." She turned around and walked away. "I'll go too." Lin Sanju stood up quickly. Mother Lin nodded her head as she walked. She reached for the bedroom door and said, "Hey." She just started her sentence when she heard a swooshing sound coming from behind her. She did not have the time to dodge. Crash! Her head was hit, her body turned limp as she fell to the ground. Lin Sanju stood behind her. Lin Sanju held the chair above her. She felt that her arms were giving way. She quickly placed the chair down. Even though she placed the chair down, she did not relax the grip the chair. Instead, she gripped the chair tighter. She stared at the direction of the bedroom as if she was about to confront a formidable enemy. For a short moment, it seemed as if she could only hear her own heavy breathing and nothing from the room. Almost immediately after, there was an abrupt sound of footsteps from behind the bedroom door. The bedroom door was pulled open. A broad-shouldered man stood at the doorway. He was shocked and angry when he saw what had happened. With the faint light that came from outside, one could see that the man's facial features were like Lin Sanju. "What are you doing? That's your mom," he hollered. There was a cold expression on the face that was in front of him. "I wished harder than you that she was my mom." Lin Sanju took a deep breath. She could feel the muscles in her arms and thighs twitching from overexertion. "My dad and mom died in a car accident 10 years ago. Verifying their corpse and arranging for their burial, I did all of that myself. So who are the two of you? And where is my friend? OWW." The woman, curled up on the ground, and gave a low moan. It broke the tense atmosphere. "Ag, that was quite painful." Seeing Mother Lin standing up, rubbing the back of her head, Lin Sanju could even feel the twitching at the corner of her eyes. Things were not going well. 2 against 1. Apart from the fact that there was a large tall man in the other party, she was so exhausted that her limbs were feeling weak. She did not even have a single ability which she could use to defend herself. Mother Lin stood up straight and cracked her neck. When she turned to face Lin Sanju, she had already turned into a young stranger who was about 17 or 18. "Oh well, what have we done? There are so many people whose parents are still alive, but we had to meet an orphan." The youth did not even look at Lin Sanju, but actually complained to his companion first. Father Lin nodded silently as he walked 2 steps out from the bedroom. After that, Father Lin turned into a redhead middle-aged woman. "Did she manage to hurt you just now?" she asked in fluent Chinese. The youth grinned, showing his set of white teeth. "Of course not, she isn't that strong." Witnessing the two of them talking naturally with each other, acting as though there were nobody else present, Lin Sanju felt somewhat bitter. She stealthily edged backward and asked in a trembling voice, "Are both of you also from a new world?" Her question seemed to have suddenly piqued the youth's interest. "Huh, so you actually know that much? We really underestimated you. That was why you totally showed no mercy just now." I already noticed just now that you have already evolved a little, your potential growth value must be quite high." The youth's manner of speaking was particularly quick and lively. It sounded as though he was talking about his favorite game. If the young man did not trick her into the apartment by disguising as her dead mother, Lin Sanju would have really lowered her defenses. "Is my friend really dead?" The youth shrugged in an exaggerated manner. "There is a person in the bathroom. Her dehydration seems really bad, so she was probably trying to get some water. But I think there is a drought here. So anyway, not even a single drop of water came out from the tap. Right, she doesn't look too good, dead. So I would recommend you not to go over to take a look." Her tears poured out uncontrollably. Lin Sanju quickly wiped them away as she continued staring at the two people in front of her. She took another step back. She had already met a person like Ren Nan who was an post-human one from a new world. Unexpectedly, she managed to meet another two of them. Lin Sanju could not help feeling extremely wary of them. "If you two did not kill my friend, why are both of you here? Why did you trick me into the apartment?" Ads by PubFuture. The young man spread his arms out and replied, "It is not as if we could choose where we appear when we get here. We are quite lucky that we appeared in a person's apartment. There is even a bed here for us to rest. Anyway, when we came here, your friend was already dead. Then, why did you disguise yourselves as my parents to trick me? How did you know my parents?" It was obvious that this youth enjoyed talking. He had revealed quite a lot of information in such a short time. Lin Sanju noticed that and purposely chose to ask these questions, as she planned the conversation. It was unclear if she saw through her plans, but before the young man could reply, the redhead woman gestured in an irritated manner to stop the young man from answering enthusiastically. "I planned for you to come inside," she said coldly. With a metallic sound, the redhead woman's nails suddenly grew by half a meter. It shined with a faint luster in the dark. She laughed and said, "I wanted to see how far people in this world have evolved." Just as redhead woman's nails extended, Lin Sanju kicked the chair forward to block the path of the two people. At lightning speed, Lin Sanju turned and ran. Fortunately, she did not close the door when she entered, so she had an escape route. Without even turning her head once, she sprinted for the stairway's exit, skipping steps as she ran down the stairs. She could hear the immediate footsteps behind her. They continued to chase after her. Midway, she could even hear the young man complaining, "She injured me again." Next, she could not hear anything at all as a single thought occupied her entire mind: escape. She felt as if she had used up all the oxygen in her body. Her lungs began to hurt with a burning sensation. Each time she took a breath, the boiling hot air scalded her trachea. She was not afraid, but the pain was unavoidable. In addition to that, she was still wounded, and her limbs felt weak. She simply could not run that quickly in this condition. Just when she could see the entrance of the residential complex, she heard a swish sound beside her ear as metallic nails swiped through the air. Gritting her teeth, she did a forward roll. With that, Lin Sanju managed to avoid those metallic nails which belonged to the redhead woman behind her. She rolled a meter forward, turned her head and realized that the pair were about to reach her. Just as they reached out towards her, a piece of white thing was abruptly flung into the air by Lin Sanju. With a thought in her mind, two large metal gates appeared out of nowhere in midair. It fell from midair with a swoosh of air, falling heavily on the young man as he shrieked. Lin Sanju fell to the ground as her legs gave way under her. The young man could no longer get up, but she did not feel even slightly happy. After all, the redhead lady was the one that posed the largest threat to her, yet she was standing without a scratch at the side of the metal gate. But Lin Sanju could not run any longer. Each time she transformed a card, it took energy from her. Reverting the metal gate back to its original form had sapped the very last bit of energy that Lin Sanju had. Right now, she could not even stand up, so she laid on the ground staring at the redhead woman, feeling extremely bitter. Unexpected, the redhead woman sighed and did not continue chasing her. She remained where she was and sat down. She frowned and turned back to talk to the youth. "Why are you so stupid?" The youth who was trapped under the heavy metal gates did not actually seem to be mortally injured. He tried hard to cough out twice, gasped, then retorted, "I am made of real flesh and blood. I am real and corporeal, obviously I can't run as fast as you. He coughed twice. I feel terrible, the metal gate is pressing against my windpipe. The redhead woman tutted and smiled coldly as she said, yeah, you are made of a body of fats. That's why you are so slow. I don't know how you were able to survive till today. Well, that is obviously because I have a very high growth potential. Lin Sanju could not believe her eyes as she saw the two people, who had chased after her, bickering with each other as if they had forgotten about her existence entirely. I mean, aren't you going to kill me? What? The young man stuck his head through the metal rails of the metal gates and looked at her with astonishment. Big sis, did you think we were trying to kill you? No wonder you ran like crazy. I was yelling at you, but you did not stop. My evolution is already that advanced, why would I bother to kill you? You are like a newly hatched chick. How would that benefit me? Looking at the highly evolved person who was stuck under the metal gates, Lin Sanju's mouth twitched, but she did not say a word. At the same time, she felt her heart falling heavily back into her stomach. It was great that they were not hostile, but, big sis, please get rid of the metal gates. I am almost flattened by it now. The young man whined, noticing that no one spoke a word. Lin Sanju shot a glance at the redhead woman who was sitting on the ground. She did not know why the woman did not try to help. Hesitating for a moment, she replied coolly, I can do that, but both of you should introduce yourselves first. Contemporary romance. Yes, we should. I am Luther. It was nice knowing you. Do you want to shake my hand? The young man leaned his head against the metal rails. Probably because he spotted Lin Sanju rolling her eyes, he quickly laughed and said, oh, yes, this is one of my alternate personalities, she is called Marcy. Lin Sanju's eyes widened. Your other personality? That's right. Before the new world arrived where I came from, I was the second person on the entire Earth that was diagnosed with having a genuine case of dissociative identity disorder. Luther sounded exceptionally proud when he said this. He tried his best to raise his chin. After that, I evolved. I could separate Marcy as an individual entity, but we can't be too far apart. Well, I won't tell you too much about my abilities. Don't ask me about how I knew your parents, this is also part of my abilities. He was aware that he almost revealed too much and quickly tried to conceal his words, saying, anyway, in short, Marcy is a biologist. She is very interested in humans who have just evolved, so she was a little too eager just now. Lin Sanju looked over to Marcy as she nodded with a serious face. But she extended her nails. Lin Sanju looked at Marcy's nails, perplexed. Under her flashlight, those 10 fingernails were now back to their normal form, short and rounded. She uses them to draw blood. After she draws your blood, she is able to analyze some of your basic stats. This is an ability that Marcy developed herself. It does not actually have any combat value, Luther replied truthfully. Wait, you are saying that not only can you evolve and gain abilities, but even your personalities can do that? Lin Sanju was really shocked. Luther was indeed worthy of the title of Heavenly King of Potential, this was what he called himself. That means, if you continue evolving, you will become a single person with the power of a whole army. It is not that simple, Luther said with a difficult expression. At this moment, my ability is pretty useless. Other than her nails, Marcy can't even hurt a person right now. Alright, I can't tell you any more about my power, it is too dangerous. Just let me out from under here. We can talk it through if we have any other misunderstandings. Lin Sanju exhaled deeply. Perhaps, suddenly seeing her dead parents was too strange that it spooked her. After speaking to Luther, she realized that she did not feel any malice from him or Marcy. She grimaced and admitted, it is not that I don't wish to release you from under the metal gates, but I really don't have the energy right now. I need to rest for a while. Why don't you tell me more about this thing called New World? Just as she finished her sentence, they suddenly hear an odd, "ah-gu" sound coming out from the guardhouse. Marcy, who had been sitting silent, suddenly jumped up. With a grave look, she whispered, damn it. The original term can also be interpreted as evolved human. In the context of this novel, the term, post-human, carries the better intended meaning of the author.